Hello everyone. Till now, we have studied some system softwares like assembler, loader, linkers. That is the first part of the our SSCD course. The second part of the course is to study another system software that we call it as a compiler. For this compiler, in the course, three modules are dedicated, and in this session I will begin with the first module, that is the introduction of an compiler. What are the different phases of a compiler, how it's going to work, and within that there is another uh, mainly the the different phases, what are the steps, how the your input is going to be processed, and finally it converts into a target machine code. So that is done with a different phases, that all we are going to study in this. Our main objective of this module is that whatever, see, you know that you will be writing many programs, and these programs are generally written it in the way we how we can understand. It means that you will be writing all these code in the English language or with some pseudo codes. Please understand here, the computer is not going to understand these codes. It understands only the target code. The target code could be different based on your architectures. So what it is here is that before you get the work done, whatever you are trying to do, you should make your computer to understand that what you have written. That's what the translation is required here. Okay, so this high level programming language, or the programs which are written in different languages, that must be converted to the computer. It must be converted in the way that computer can understand. So this process we call it as compilations. So any program written in a programming language must be translated before it can be executed. See, this is going to be done by the another system software that is called compiler. So in this module we are going to study what are the principles of a compiler, how you what are the different techniques that the compiler is going to convert your high level language into a machine level language, or you can call it as target code. Instead of machine language, I will use the word target language, how it's going to be converted. So that all we are going to study in this module. Okay, there are some learning outcomes are there. In this module, you are going to understand the different phases of the your compilation process. Then you are going to understand the you will be learning what are the roles of each component. It means that suppose if there are different phases are like lexical analysis is there, syntax analysis is there, you will be learning what are their roles. Sorry. And then it shows an awareness of problems and the methods and techniques applied to each phase of the compilation process. See here, there are different phases are there, but in this module you are also going to learn what is the how each module are going sorry, how each phase are going to be interrelated. See why the syntax analysis phase is required, what it takes as an input and what it produces, and how it will be forwarded to the next page. So that you will come to know in this module. Okay, and then what are the different techniques that you, if you want to solve some basic problems using the compiler constructions. And finally you will be learning what are the different characteristics of the whenever you want to generate a good code, how your compiler can understand the and can take an advantage of the particular process characteristics to generate the code. In this entire study of the compiler, the standard book which is mentioned is uh, Compilers Principles and Techniques and Tools, second edition, which is written by Aho, Lorne and Sethi. Generally it is called it as Aho textbook. Okay, and this is the one of the classic textbook, and it is mentioned as our main text. Okay, now understand here in a layman terminology, the compiler is a system software program that translates an executable program. Please understand the word here executable. Here it is written general format. It could be any programmable, any programming language. That is executable program. You have written a program in any language and that must be an executable one. You cannot write some random code and ask your compiler to execute that. So that's what the word general word is used here, executable program in one language into an executable program in another language. Our intention here is that you have written a some code which is in some high level language, and it should be converted into an again an executable program, but it is not in the same language, it should be in some other language. See here, please understand here the difference is that as we have mentioned here, the executable word, why I have written here it as an executable means you, it is not necessary that you will be using only the machine code. Sometimes what you can do is that you can create a program in such a way that you can write a program, for example you can write a Java program and that can be converted into a C code, or C to C, or you can say C plus to C, like that you can do that. Okay, so here what is our the main intention is that whatever the your compiler is going to produce, uh, it should be something different than the original. That is our intention here. Interpreter on the other hand, this is another system software. So a program that reads an executable program and produces the result of running that program. Usually this involves executing the source program in some fashion. Please understand here, the compiler what it does that it's going to scan your entire program, and it takes only input when if your program is completely an error free. But that is not the case in the case of interpreter. Interpreter what it does is that it scans line by line and immediately it executes that. Suppose if there is a printf statement in C programming, so immediately it executes printf, and then scanf is there, then it waits for an input, and then like that means line by line. But in case of an compiler it is not like that. There are some standard programming languages that are there which uses interpreter only. One such example is Lisp. We'll see, but anyway our intention in this course is not to study about the interpreters. We will be concentrating more on the compilers. Another definitions are given here. Some it's taken from two textbooks. The first one says that a program that accepts as input a program text in a certain languages. See here, the certain languages means it should be a programming language, and it's going to generate an output program text in another language while preserving the meaning of that text. It means that whatever the meaning of that program is there, that's not going to be changed. You are going to preserve that. Means what you are expecting, the same thing is going to be performed by your compiler also. Okay, that's an in a book which is written by Grun. Okay, the one which is that the standard textbook which you are referring in that the definition is given is that a program that reads a program written in one language. Here a program that reads means program, here it is our compiler, that reads a program written in one language, that is source language, and translate it into an equivalent program in another language. Please understand here the source language and target languages. We are using one program, that is our compiler. Compiler is going, what it does, it's going to convert the program which is written in source language into a target language. Okay, so that is an definition of an compiler. The interpreter here is a program that reads a source program, and it's going to give you the results of an executing this source, means it's going to generate an output line by line. Some examples I have taken it here. It is just a diagram shows that you are going to give some source program, generally it is written, and then compiler is going to take that as an input and it's going to give the target program. Here C is a typically compiler, Lisp is an typically interpreter programming language. Java is compiled to bytecode, which are then interpreted. It means that Java works as both uh, compiler and as well as interpreter. Even you can write an something like that, a language between to another language, means you can convert a C++ to C, or high performance Fortran to another Fortran language, C to C. These are already available, but we focus more on we keep in our, whenever we are studying this compiler design concept, we keep our C programming language as a main source, and then based on that we will be studying. Here some qualities of the good compilers are listed. Sorry. What you are expecting from the compiler, it means that what the compiler should have some qualities. The first and foremost is that it has to produce an, it has to generate an a correct code in the sense that whatever your intention is there, it has to be performed, means your work should it has to perform the whatever the work you are expecting to do that, and it has to generate a fast code. Here it does not, the here the quality is that fast code means that it should your whatever the compiler is going to convert the target code, it has to execute it with a higher speed. Okay, then it confirms the specifications of the input language. Of course it has to follow all the whatever the input language you are going to give according to that. For example, if there is a C standard, C is there, C is going to use some inbuilt grammar. According to that grammar only it has to work. Copes with essentially arbitrary input size variable, etc. That is also true. And compilation time, it should increase with the size of the source. See, for example, here this is a very important point. It should take the a linear amount of time to execute your program if you increase the size of the source code. It does not mean that if you write a small code, then it is taking some amount of time, but if you increase it by a little additional code, it should not take an exponential time. So there should be a linear increase in size as well as the your time. Okay, it has to produce some good diagnostic tools, because it is very essential whenever you are writing a program, and if you do some either it's a typing mistake or a programming some different kind of mistakes, it must be able to tell you that what are those mistakes you have created. So that's what it has to come with some diagnostic tools, and then it must alarm you whenever you are doing some mistakes. And it also has to do some optimization. It means that you might have written a program, and that program generally it converts into an intermediate code, and it has to apply some techniques to reduce this the size of the code. So that is what we call it as an optimizations. And if it comes with some debugging tool on automatically, or else it if it allows you to debug your code, then that is another good feature of the your compiler. Okay, so these are the some few qualities of a good compiler. And here whenever you want to perform a compilations, the first thing is that it has to preserve the meaning of the program being compiled. It means that it should not change. Whatever you are trying to do, the same thing you must get. And it has to improve your source code in the sense that you might be using some unwanted statements in the program, but your compiler must be able to optimize this. That is what it has to show some improvements on the source code. And the other issues which the one is that the speed and the space, other one is space. See, speed and space are very important in the case of any programming language you take. It has to take the whatever the compiled version of your source program is there, it has to take a less amount of time and it must execute it quickly. And it must be able to provide some feedback. And the debugging is another feature here, that is the it must allow you to, because most of the times what happens, even though if you think that you written a code correctly, you will not be able to realize where the problem it is. So that time it is very essential to debug your code. So that is the transformation obscure the relationship source code versus the target code. You must be able to understand that where something is going wrong. Compilation time efficiency, that is whether your the total compilation time, whether it is a slow or fast. So that also you have to see. These are the some points why you have to study the compilation technology. Anyway, it is there, it is given as an assignment in your assignment uh, 3. What you should do is that you have to study those subtopics in your which is provided in the textbook, and then you have to write assignment. But generally I am giving here some outline. Sorry. Here the first and foremost thing is that why you have to study this compiler subject means it is one of the core subject of an computer science. That is the first thing. You whatever you want to relate in computer science or whatever you want to study, then everywhere the compiler comes. So it means that the compiler is one of the core computer science subject. That's what you have to study. Here why you have to do this means whatever the techniques you are learning, that is it could be a scanning or parsing or semantic analysis or static analysis, that all you are going to apply in your day-to-day life. So that's what applying theory to practice. What is scanning, parsing, and that I will come I will explain it in the later slides. Okay. And the other thing is that many practical applications have embedded languages. It means that you will be whatever you are trying to do, for that what you can do is that you can apply the techniques what you have learned, and then you can create an not create, you can resolve all those things. Okay. The other thing is that with related to an the engineering perspective, you have to learn some algorithms. Okay, and then you have to practice them. That's what you have to study the compiler, that is practical algorithmic and engineering issues. See here, generally what happens, whatever the problems you are trying to um, analyze, it could be difficult to do that, isn't it? but by with a compiler techniques, you can make your programs, or you can do some kind of an analysis there. So that's what it is very important. And if you are a core architecture designer, that time you will be focusing more on the space and size of a compiler. That's what you have to emphasis on, the efficiency and scalability. Efficiency comes in terms of an space and size. Scalability comes in the form of, if you want to expand your the input size. So it means that if you want to make your system, if not exactly input size, if you want to make your system to work with a more and more data, that time you have, it should be scalable. And whenever you are learning the your compiler, that time even you can concentrate, or you can give more importance to the even smaller issues, so which will give you a better understanding. This compilation technology will make you to understand the different intradisciplinaries of the computer science. See, the what I mean to say is that interdisciplinary here, it means that under the branch of computer science you have got so many other sub branches. Like in this example, what I have taken it as, that is in one sub is artificial intelligence. Okay, so it means that this compiler will allow you to think about the or to get the ideas from the different parts of the computer science. One is AI, that is artificial intelligence algorithms. In this, heuristic search techniques, greedy algorithms, and other pattern matching algorithms, all will allow you to think about or study more about the different parts of computer science. The another thing is that compiler constructions can be challenging and fun. Why it is challenging means, you will be working with a different new architectures. When there is a new architecture, so obviously there will be a new challenges. Okay, so these are the few just points why you have to study the compilation uh, technology. Okay, now what are the uses of compiler technology? So it is the one best most why we do study the compiler. It means that it has to convert from the high level language to an target code. Okay, so this program object code could be in any uh, form. Okay, the other thing is that optimization for computer architectures. See, when you are whenever you are thinking about one particular architectures, what you can do is that you can see study that hardware architecture of that, and then you can improve the performance of that. So when you improve, automatically optimization comes. Then the other thing is that you can ask your system software to do an parallelization. See, generally what happens, as until now we have seen the C programming language with only a sequential execution. It means that only one program is executing at a time. That is also, all the instructions are executing step by step. But what you can do, the same program can be written in a parallel, where one part of your code can work on with one processor, and another part of the code can work with a different processor. You can make your program to work in the form of parallelizations. Okay, and the other use is that performance instrumentation. It means that you can, whenever you are compiling your program, what you can do is that you can provide lot of options which will help you to improve your the whatever the program is there, that the performance can be improved. For example, one example is given here, hyphen pg. When you are working with the GCC, generally we see that we do not work with any of our special options, but here you can make use of your hyphen pg, then it helps you to improve the performance of that program. Okay, and then you have to study this there are many programming language appears. those are going to use the interpreters Python, Perl, Ruby, MATLAB and all. And then comes the software productivity tools. Okay, this is another important use of an compiler technology, where you can provide with a lot of debugging aids. Then there is a security is another point. Okay, see, normally in C programming you do not provide much security, but when you go with a object oriented programming languages, that time you give more importance to the safety of your code also. Okay, data and code. Like that, another here it is written text formatters, just in time compilation for Java, power management, global. These are all the different uses of the compiler. But one thing you understand here, whatever we consider it as a programming language, the thing is that you have to process your source program. You have to process your source programs. You must be able to extract the properties from the source program, so that we call it as an analysis. And once you extract these properties, and then you have to use this all these properties, and then you must be able to transform this into a target program. So that process we call it as synthesis. So generally all these compilers comes with these two parts, analysis part and synthesis part. We will be studying more this in detail in the coming slides. Okay, so in generally what we have seen in the earlier slides is that the main if you want to see this in the form of a diagram, what you can do is that compiler is a just like an box, and you have to explore this box, and then you must see what is there in there, what is there in this box. See, this compiler, it takes a input as source code. This source code can be in any of the programming language, and then it must be converted into an object code. Is nothing but your target code. Suppose if there are any errors are there, then it has to intimate in time. Okay, so the compiler must generate a correct code. It must recognize the errors, and it has to follow the process of analysis and synthesis. Okay, there is an observe this diagram carefully here. See, compilation interpretation does the same thing. Compilation also converts your high level language into a target, that is one source program language into another. Even the interpreter also does the same thing. But see here, the compilation is nothing but what? It is a translation of a program written in a source language into a semantically equivalent program written in a target language. Please understand here, you can observe the diagram carefully. What we are doing for a compiler is taking what? It is taking the input as source program, and uh, if there are an errors, it's going to produce an error messages. If it is not, then what it does, it converts the target program. For this target program, you are providing an input. We are not providing input at the beginning state. If you want, you can just you can just recall how do you execute your C program. So what you do, you give it as a GCC and name of the program, correct? And that program, when you execute this, it will create, and by default a dot out. A dot out is my target program now. It's not my source program. It's a target program of the source program which you have written, correct? Now for this, if you want to run this, you have to recall that you have to execute it dot slash a dot out, and then you will provide an input, and then it produces the output. This is an compilation, but the interpretation is not like that. It performs the operations implied by the source program. Please understand here the diagram. For an interpreter, what you are doing, you are giving a source program, and as and when you are going to supply the inputs also. Here the source program and input must be given for an interpreter in the initial stage itself. Then if there are an error, suppose assume that it has read one data, and then when it is processing the next thing, then if it is an error, it produces an error. Line by line execution takes place in the case of interpreter. Okay, so in the case of compiler, it executes as a whole program, and finally it lists all the errors if it has. Otherwise, it takes an input and produces the output, but not in the case of interpreter. Okay, now just see here, there is another a key programming language is there, that we call it as Java. See, Java is an hybrid compiler. What do you mean by the hybrid compiler? Means in some cases the compilation and interpreter works together. What the Java language processor do, they combine both compilation and interpretation. See, initially what it does, that compilation means what it does, the uh, it's going to create an intermediate form of your Java source program, that we call it as bytecode. So you can see the first part of your diagram where it is source program is in the Java, and here we are not calling it as a compiler, we are calling it as a translator. What this does, it converts the your Java code into a bytecode. So that bytecode is nothing but it is an intermediate program. So now you give this bytecode to the virtual machine, and then that virtual machine is going to take an input as and when required and produces the output. So this is an a beauty of an Java programming language. So that's what, once it converts the bytecode, this bytecode is a platform independent code. So that's what the Java has become more popular because of this bytecode only. That is the whatever the intermediate form it creates, and that is very important. um, Hence you can just see here. Okay, the other part, other thing, what you can do generally, what we see that whenever you are writing a program, for example C program only, if you think that you are it's an high level language and you convert into a target program by using compiler, generally what happens, the your compiler is going to call internally so many other system softwares. See, one such system software is preprocessor. See, before starting conversion of your program into a target, what it does is that it is going to process something. Just consider that, for example, if you are including some files, you are written as some small snippet of a code. Okay, in that you are written something called hash include. So what does it mean? You are informing your compiler to do something, correct? Then that is your compiler, what it is before converting into an object code, it does some kind of an processing, that is we call it as pre-processing. See, include stdio.h, then what it does, it gets that stdio.h, and then it's going to add into your program. Similarly, you can add even your own code also. Okay, this is something called hash include. In the double quote you will be writing a.c. It means that include the a.c here before executing this program. That's what the first you are going to give the source program, and if any pre-processing is to be done, it does, and then you will get a modified source program. See, this modified source program will be given as an input to the compiler. Okay, now compiler, for example, if you give a command something called gcc -v myprogram.c. See, myprog.c is an input program, and then that you are compiling with a C. So now see what it does here. We, we are going to explore this compiler in detail in the later sessions. But just understand here, the compiler is going to produce the target assembly program. Directly it will not go into the target machine code. Internally it's going to call its own assembler to convert all your instructions into an assembly. And then you know that assembler is, when the assembly is created, assembly code is created, it has to be converted into an targetable object code. So then here the assembler is going to perform that object code, but if it requires any linking and all, it's going to perform an it's going to call the linker, that is relocatable object code. The output of the assembler is relocatable object code, then that is going to be given as an input to the linker. See, generally we use that, we will be supplying many libraries. For example, in the case of gcc only, if you are using, if your program myprogram.c is using a mathematical library, you will pass it as ml, that is link some mathematical library. If you are using lex program, we will use it as a ll, something like that. You will be giving. Okay, so that is what you have to pass the libraries, and then that libraries are going to be properly linked, and then it relocates your object code, and then finally you will get it as a target machine code. Okay, so this is generally you will be using many of the system softwares internally. Your compiler is going to use that. So as I explained earlier, your entire compilation is going to divide it into two parts, that is an analysis part and the synthesis part. And analysis part is generally we call it as the front end of a compiler, and the back end of a compiler is synthesis part. Okay, so in the front end you are going to process your input. So what it does is that initially your program is going to be divided into a constituent piece, something called it as tokens. So what we do is that sorry, we are going to break your entire source program into a tokens, meaningful sequences. We call them it as a lexemes also, that we'll see in the later part. Okay, so it divide into a tokens. Now your in the second phase of your compiler, what your that is in the syntax analysis, what it does, it applies the grammatical structure on those tokens. See, understand here, we initially we break the your input into a tokens, and after that we are applying a grammatical structure for those tokens. Now if it is, that part is called it as an lexical analysis and syntax analysis, and if it is correct, then it's going to create some intermediate representations. See, maybe it in the form of an parse tree. Okay, or sometimes we call it as a syntax tree also. So now that it's going to represent in the some intermediate representations. Simultaneously, what happens if your any of the tokens are does not belong to that respective programming language, or if those tokens are not applicable as per the your grammatical structure, then it has to provide some an error messages, that is an information to the user. Correct. So it means that in the analysis part, it's doing lexical analysis, that is scanning, then it is doing parsing, and then even it is representing some your whatever it has done in the form of an intermediate representations. And it also has to provide some meaningful messages whenever there are errors, or whenever it requires something, it should come up with some informative messages. See, in all these cases, it's going to use one common data structure, that is symbol table. See, this symbol table is a data structure which will be accessible to all the phases of your compiler. And once it represents your input code in the form of an intermediate representation, then the synthesis part will continue with the other thing. So what it does is that it constructs the desired target program from the intermediate representation and the information in the symbol table. Please understand here, the analysis part, what it is doing, it divides into a tokens and applies the grammatical structures and produces some intermediate representations. And these intermediate representation has an input to the second part, that is your synthesis part, and it will convert it into a and the finally whatever the target machine is going to be required, according to that it converts. And then in all this process, again it's going to be use the symbol table. Either it is storing something into a symbol table, or else it's going to access from the symbol table. So this is what an analysis and synthesis model of the compilations. So now in this class, okay, another thing is that here some different tools are given here. Not only compiler perform the analysis synthesis, some other tools also does the same thing, that is editors. In the case of syntax, highlighting, pretty printers, the example is Doxygen, interpreters, static checkers, the text formatters, that is text and latex, and then silicon compilers, VHDL, and in some databases like that is query in all these cases analysis synthesis model is used. Okay, So now what I do is that in the next session I am going to begin with what exactly the compiler is going to do and all. Okay. uh, in this session I have tried to explain what is an compiler, where it is going to be used and all. I hope you are very clear with this introduction chapter. In the next class I will be explaining the different phases of the compiler. um, Take care, stay safe.